Goldman Sachs has maintained Nvidia at a conviction buy. It is starting to point up. So the short-term trend has just turned up. Ex-Google CEO Eric Schmidt sees Nvidia as a big AI winner. Last week we got a bullish green arrow pointing up. It's a bullish entry signal. Nvidia, NVDA, one of the hottest AI play that's gone up since the beginning of the year, but over the past few weeks we've seen weakness. It has since rebound. So what are some of the analysts saying? What are some of the news that have came out? And more importantly, on the charts, how does it look like? Can there be more upside? Are we looking at another 20-30% more upside? Let's find out. Hey guys, Joey here, top tier myself, trader in Philip Securities. And in this video, I'll be talking about some of the news development, what some of the analysts are saying. Of course, we'll dive into the charts as well to give you my take on Nvidia, what some of the key levels, even the trend. Can we still see more upside? So if you want to know what is happening to Nvidia, NVDA right now, make sure you watch this video all the way to the end. Let's go. So Goldman Sachs has maintained Nvidia at a conviction buy with a steady stock target. So just on Monday, Goldman Sachs reiterated its conviction buy rating on shares of Nvidia, price target of 135, you can see, right? So Goldman Sachs kind of like anticipates that the upcoming fiscal second quarter results, which are scheduled to release just next week on the 28th August, can potentially increase investor confidence in the company earnings power as we head into next year as well. Okay, another news, right? Nvidia's stellar earnings streak will continue with AI spending still booming. This is what one of the Wedbush research analysts had to say. So Nvidia is expected to have a strong quarter amidst continued AI spending, said Wedbush. And many of those tech firms I mentioned, these customers, right? They are still very early in the AI hardware investment, driving demand for Nvidia's AI chips. So many of these companies, like I mentioned, these customers like Meta, Alphabet, they are still kind of like at the initial phase of spending billions of dollars in AI, and they need the chips from Nvidia. All right, and even major customers like Foxconn and Supermicro report profits from AI boosting Nvidia's outlook. So many of these customers are also kind of like investing heavily in AI, and they are also reporting strong profits. That means they are seeing strong demand in their own products as well, which depends on Nvidia's products. So this Wedbush analyst expects that Nvidia is bound to report another strong quarter of earnings, right, as this AI spending boom is in full swing. So the investment firm that's dubbed Nvidia founder Jensen as the godfather of AI, right, is saying that it's still bullish on the chip maker ahead of his report, as I mentioned, on 28th August next week. So this $1 trillion, right, tidal wave of AI spending that Wedbush has predicted previously, it is still underway. That means, like I mentioned, right, many of the tech firms are still in the early stages of investing in this AI, so it's still kind of like very new in the beginning phase. The recent sell-off in Nvidia shares stemmed from concern that demand was waning for its chips, and there could be issues with its new Blackwell next generation GPU. However, as I mentioned, right, some of Nvidia's largest customers have reported healthy profits, right, in part due to their increased investment in AI. So Foxconn, a major buyer of Nvidia chips, saw its profits rise 6% over the quarter, largely due to strong growth momentum stemming from its AI servers. Even Supermicro, another large Nvidia customer, also saw great sales and beat revenues estimate last quarter. So what this analyst is saying is that a lot of data are pointing towards more or increased spending in AI, and also AI being integrated into personal devices like our phones, right? It could also represent a major tailwind to the semiconductor industry. So tailwind is a positive thing. It means that it can push the semiconductor industry forward, right? And as it will fuel more demand for AI content. So many of Nvidia's customers is committed to spending on AI through the Blackwell launch. This Blackwell GPU that Nvidia has delayed its launch is going to launch soon. So you've got another year plus of elevated AI spending. So it's still a buy for this analyst from Wedbush. Another news on Nvidia last week, right? Ex-Google CEO Eric Schmidt sees Nvidia as a big AI winner. You know what to do in the stock market. So former Google CEO Eric Schmidt said in a recent talk at Stanford that tech giants are planning for increasing large investments into Nvidia-based AI data centers, like what I mentioned just now, right? I'm talking to the big companies, right? And the big companies are telling me that they need $20 billion, $50 billion, $100 billion in AI infrastructure. So going back to what I mentioned just now, many of the Nvidia's customers are still spending heavily billions of dollars in AI to build their own AI capabilities as well. So Eric Schmidt, who led Google for a decade, told Stanford students that while he's not one to give investment advice, he sees an obvious play, right, in the stock market that doesn't involve buying shares of his former employer. So many of those big technology companies are planning for increasingly large investments into Nvidia-based artificial intelligence data centers, which cost as much as $300 billion to build. So why are you saying that? I'm talking to the big companies, and the big companies are telling me that they need like 20 billion, 50, $100 billion very, very hard, right? And he's a close friend to OpenAI CEO Sam Altman as well. So Eric Schmidt is kind of like suggesting that a huge amount of this spending was going to Nvidia, which makes the dominant data center AI chips and has already seen revenue increase by more than 200% for 3 straight quarters. So very strong results. As I mentioned, there's huge demand for his chips as many of his customers needs those chips to build their AI data centers. So even Google, right, which is Eric Schmidt's previous employer, has developed its own chips called TPUs as well, and they could compete with Nvidia's processors, but they are still at a much earlier stage. So if $300 billion is all going to Nvidia, you know what to do in the stock market, Eric Schmidt said. So this is not like a stock recommendation, right? He didn't say that he owns Nvidia shares, but I think he's kind of like pointing towards that Nvidia could be one of the stocks that you could put perhaps in your watch list if you are looking at the AI space. Okay, so enough of the news and what some of the analysts are saying. Let's dive into Nvidia's NVDA stock chart right now. And guys, if you like this video, you found some value so far, a quick summary of what has happened, make sure you give me a like, smash the subscribe button, hit the follow button. That will definitely help out the channel. And thank you so much for doing this, right? So this is Nvidia currently at about 130 US dollars. So before I talk about where we are, let me just do a quick recap of what has happened for Nvidia probably since the beginning of the year. So you can see, right, since beginning of the year at about 2024 January, right, it did that was before the stock split, right? So the price then was like about 400 to 500, and then of course now prices have adjusted downwards after a 10-for-1 stock split. So you can see there was like $40 to $50 there. So let's talk about post-split prices. It kind of like broke the $50 level, went all the way up, consolidated, pushed even higher towards the 140. So 140 would be a very key resistance level for now. You can see now we are about 130. It's about $10 away from this 140. So 140 would be a resistance level whereby we may see some selling again. So that's the level to watch, right? And you can see that over the past 1 to 2 months, since like beginning of the June, right, we saw prices pushing all the way up. Of course, there was a sell down in the market. There was a selling down in the mega technology stocks. Many of those tech stocks sold off. The AI plays like Nvidia sold off as well. And of course, there were talks about recession and all that. The market started to weaken, right? So Nvidia got hit. You can see we traded lower from 140 all the way. We broke the 120 support, went all the way down, and we actually neared this $100. So 100 is a very key psychological support. It used to be 1,000. That was before the stock split. Of course, 1,000 divided by 10. Now it's $100. That's a very key psychological support. And in fact, it was a very key resistance level as well. When we broke the 100, and it was 1,000 I mentioned, right? So when we broke the 100, you can see I started to push all the way up. We retested this support level back to where the longer term moving averages are, right? So the red and the blue, you can see they're both pointing up. It kind of like neared this longer term moving average and started to push away from it. So for Nvidia, right, in terms of the short term, we did see some weakness in July, all right? We saw some weakness in July as the market weakened, but overall, in terms of the longer term trend, right, longer term trend, it has been in an uptrend, I would say, since like the beginning of last year, right? Not just this year. Since last year, we have already been in the longer term uptrend, right? Of course, the short term could be like sideways for a couple of months. It could turn down 1 or 2 months and then start to push even higher. But longer term trend has been up since last year, right? So let's take a look at where we are right now. So you can see, right, over the past few weeks, we actually saw a little bit of resistance after touching the 100, right? We saw a little bit of resistance right over here around the $110. So that was a little bit of a temporary resistance level. You can see we broke above this 110, and there were signs of the short-term trend, the 20 days moving average. This green line, you can see as it's broken support as the market weakened, right? It started to point, it was like up, flat, down. And you can see, right, over the past 1 or 2 weeks, started to flatten out, and maybe now it is starting to point up. So the short-term trend has just turned up slightly over the past few days, above the 110 when we broke it, and plus the short-term 20 days moving average line pointing up as well. So it looks pretty good. We are kind of like seeing the reversal right now. In fact, targets has been drawn previously, all right, this last week, from like 110 all the way to 140. So as I mentioned, right, 140 is a very key psychological resistance level right now. If we were to break the 140, we go to like 141, 42, 43, 45. That is potentially where targets can be revised even higher, right? So we could revise our targets maybe from, you see, right, the range is maybe like 100 to 140, it's about a $40 range. So potentially we may hit to maybe the 180 or maybe even 200 next. That could be the next upside targets, right, if we were to break the 140 psychological resistance. So that's for Nvidia, right? I think right now we are kind of like seeing a bit of rebound. We may see some profit taking near 140. You could lock in some profits if you want, but I'm watching to see if we can break this 140. If that can happen, great. I think it's pretty much next, a move to a higher phase in terms of targets being revised, and that's where the longer term trend can continue even further. So let's take a look at what NVDA is saying on my 1GT system. So I have a system called 1GT, in short, it's one good trend, all right, whereby it alerts us of counters like this and guides us on entry and exit. So if you want to find out a little bit more in terms of the entire strategy called one good trend, make sure you attend one of those free webinars that we're still running. The link is right below the video. Click on it, attend this free 2 hours webinar whereby I'll share with you guys the entire framework, and maybe you can have access to this 1GT system as well. So here's the video. You can see that I won't go too far, but since like last year, December, kind of like 2023, beginning of the year as well, you can see a couple of bullish signals push up, that was in like $50. As I mentioned, we broke the 500, did stock split, so now it's 50. So we got a kind of like a bullish signal, went all the way up. Some bearish signals came out, it sold off. That was somewhere in like May, a pretty good bullish signal coming out, all the way up. You can see a bearish signal somewhere in July, 17th of July, and then weakness started to happen, went down. But let's take a look at the most recent signal on the 12th of August. Yeah, 12th of August, just last week, we got a bullish green arrow pointing up. It's a bullish entry signal. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, it started to push up. All right, that's where I mentioned that we could potentially head towards the 140 psychological resistance. If that breaks, that gives way, buyers can't take out the entire sellers there. I think that is good. We may see this bullish signal playing out further, maybe to 150 to 180, maybe to 200, and then maybe we see an exit or maybe a bearish signal that could guide us to get out as well. There we have it, guys. That is Nvidia, right? So I hope you have a better picture of where we are right now in terms of some of the news that came out, what some of the analysts saying in terms of their technical level as well, the trend, the short-term trends, of the key resistance level. I hope you now know what they are. So thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. If you found some value so far, guys, go ahead to give me a like, smash the subscribe button, hit the follow button. That will definitely help out the channel, and thank you so much for doing that. And as I mentioned, right, if you want to find a little bit more on the entire one good trend, one GT strategy, all right, I don't have time to share the entire strategy here, but if you want to find a little bit more, attend one of those free webinars that we're still running. The link is right below the video. Click on it, register for it, show up for it, and that's where I'll share with you guys more on this strategy and how perhaps a system can help you and guide you on entry and exit as well. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.